All right. Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday, and welcome to today's Saros Educate webinar. Looks like we've got some familiar faces, some new faces, and whether it's your first webinar, your 10th, 20th, very excited to have you here today. And yeah, the sun is shining. It is coming out again, and it's too sunny in Arizona. You know what that tracks. But I hope y'all are having a great week. I am very excited for today's session. We're going to be talking all about product demos and how we can make them stick. In this session, we're going to be sharing some best practices and some tips for creating product demos to increase that engagement and make them stick. And my name is Kelsey. I will be your host for today. I'm the learning experience designer here on the Saros Educate team. And during my time at Saros, I have come across quite a few different product demos in my 4 years here. I've seen, created, and interacted with, and helped advise on a lot of different product demos for a variety of different use cases across several different industries too. And I've even helped create and produce some product demos too from an education perspective. So I think that just kind of puts me in a unique spot to walk us through some tips and tricks for these today. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one and hope y'all have some good takeaways from the session. On our agenda for the day, we're going to get started with the role of product demos and then dive into what makes a demo stick. And then we'll look at some demos that were built in Saros. And of course, we'll have time for a Q&A at the end. So as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat throughout or through the Q&A. And we'll definitely get to those towards the end. All right. So with that, let's just go ahead and dive in. Now, I am going to start this by kicking it back to you with a question. And that is, when you hear product demo, what comes to mind? And like, if someone were to reach out and they want to demo a product for you, what would you anticipate? What did that format look like? No wrong answers. And while you think about it, I'll share an answer of mine. I actually asked my partner this last night, and he was very unsure for a little while, but finally he landed on like test driving a car. And I think that is really about as hands-on and interactive as you can get with a product demo, literally sitting in the car, driving and interacting with all the bells and whistles and fun gizmos and gadgets that are in there. So a great hands-on interactive demo like a test drive is a great example. But in other instances where you aren't able to like tangibly test a product, what are some other instances there? All right, looks like we've got some step-by-step instructions. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one. A slide deck and a salesperson. Yes, that is another really good one. Micro-learning click-through. Yes, interactive experiences. Y'all are nailing it. Did y'all get a sneak peek at this webinar deck? Just kidding. But yes, oh my gosh, where did my mouse go? Found it. So common product demos, y'all have listed a couple of them, are live screen shares. This can usually include like a sales call, someone walking you through the product, and someone just taking you through the platform. Ooh, there we go. Very common method. And usually, yeah, you have a presenter guiding you through it, whether it is from sales or a product expert. They're usually guided pretty verbally and just kind of in that linear flow, guided by the presenter. Very common use case. And then some other really popular ones are these pre-recorded videos that they might send out so that you can watch it asynchronously. They typically include voiceovers and screen recordings, and they're used a lot for scalability when they need to send out a lot, or through email campaigns, maybe they want to encourage folks to just kind of do it on their own instead of having to schedule that live demo and booking more time on the calendar. So again, these are great for, they're used a lot for scalability, but often lacking in that interactivity. And then The age-old classic PDFs and slide decks, things like that, even just images with lots of screenshots and text. These are still very common in a lot of product demos, teaching you how to use a product or walking you through new features. And they are often very static with little to no interactivity. And that's kind of the overlying thread with all three of these methods. All of them kind of lack that interactivity element. And someone mentioned in the chat a micro-learning click-through. That's a really great example of another product demo. And there are some interactive product demo platforms out there that can take things just a little step further. And they can let users click through and engage with the product and get to know it. And there are a lot of different product demo softwares out there that can work well for different use cases. I'll even show one of these examples that we have here on our Educate site. And these are in our interactive guides. They're micro learnings that you can click through, learn step-by-step instructions on all these different topics here. But just getting to know the studio. So for example, you wanted to learn about some interactions and how to apply a specific one, like going to a URL. This one is really popular with product demos to link out to booking an appointment or a walkthrough, a demo, and also linking out to the product itself. So with this one, this is a click-through experience, keeping us in the product. And it does follow a very linear path, kind of some step-by-step instructions. And with a lot of these walkthroughs, they come with some customization, like color changing and whatnot. But as far as customizable flow, you're really stuck to that linear format, going through the step-by-step instructions just like this. They can be powerful for onboarding like this whenever you're teaching steps in a product, but they do usually stay inside that product experience and keep you on that kind of linear path. Again, good for different use cases. Like we have this library of interactive guides that you can browse, but they do lack that customization and way that you can make it super stylized. So by creating product demos in Saros, you can really make these an experience. You can build out custom immersive experiences that are kind of outside the constraints of that strict linear flow. You can make multi-page microsites, interactive touchscreens that you can display at conferences, trade shows, and you can even create just micro content that you're going to embed on your website and highlight different product updates or features that you've just released or new products in general. But the list can go on. In Saros, though, you do have a lot of flexibility on how you're going to visualize it. And you can even emphasize different elements of your product and make it super stylized because you're not locked into those static formats like just videos or slide decks. And you can really start to simulate real product behavior, which is a cool, unique perspective whenever you're creating in a platform like Saros. So we know they can kind of come in all shapes and sizes. There are demos designed for onboarding new users, and those are going to look very different compared to like onboarding or something that's built into sales collateral. So what might work for internal employee education or even client education won't quite hit the mark with some external prospects that you're trying to get interested in the product. So we're going to approach this with a frame that we're going to be looking at different formats because no size fits all, because all of the goals, the outcomes, and the audiences are going to be very different. But they do all have a couple of common pitfalls that they share when it comes to creating these product demos. And the first one is that information overload. Oftentimes, folks are trying to cram a lot of information in one long demo, trying to get all of the key features, show everything all at once. It's really kind of like a fire hose of feature information when you're being introduced to a new product. And the second is that passive linear format. This is often with slide decks or videos that you just kind of have to stick through and see it from start to finish. You can't really go out of that flow. And there's not really room to explore. And they're just kind of stuck in the back seat watching the product instead of engaging with it. So, what are some ways that we can fix this? So, regardless of who you're building for, what that audience is, there are a few key strategies that can consistently make your product demos more engaging, memorable, effective, and help make those stick. And we've broken them down into 3 tips that you can apply, whether it's for new features, for current clients, or onboarding users, enabling your marketing team. And our first step here is probably one you've heard a good amount, and that is show, don't tell. It's something, yeah, we hear a lot in content creation, and it still applies very heavily to our product demos, because rather than reading like a huge wall of text or just going over a voiceover script, you can really let the product speak for itself. You can use visual storytelling by showing the UI in action. So you can replicate product behavior, you can show off different features. And let's see, that one's pretty quick, pretty easy. You can also start embedding videos, showing the product in action with embedded videos and short little guides with graphics. And our second tip here is to let them drive, really sticking to that test driving theme. But really great demos can provide hands-on experiences for your users, whether they're learning or interested in buying, really like a test drive. You give them choices and they can explore on their own. And a really great example of this outside of test driving a car would be like at a conference. Our Seros team was at a conference recently, and they had this touchscreen where they were able to display an experience for a product demo, and folks were able to come, interact with it, get hands-on, and explore. And within the experience, we'll take a little look at it soon, but within that experience, they were able to kind of choose their own adventure. And that is a really great way to just encourage that engagement and keep that retention. And our final one, interactivity and animations. Now, incorporating these interactions and animations can really help keep that attention and improve that engagement that I mentioned, and really just encourage that discovery in the experience, because users are more likely to click around compared to just passively scrolling through text. And with that, you can use interactions to build like mock interfaces that look and feel like the product. You can let users discover specific product components using light boxes or embedding videos within it as well. And you can even create animations that mimic software behavior. You can create repeating animations, sequences, can get really creative with how Seros animates your content to make it look like your own. And I think a great example of this one would be like, let's see, like Nintendo. Whenever you go in person, you can test out the new games on the display. But if you go to the site, you can also maybe test out different features, learn about different things, and even create animations that show what it's like switching from one screen to another, one game to another, little things like that. And lastly, you can also embed forms to capture leads. So if that's something you're interested in putting in your product demos, sending it out, and maybe trying to capture emails, you can definitely embed those forms. If it has an embed code, you can throw it in Seros. All right. So with all of those 3 tips in mind, we are going to dive into some demos that were built in Seros, starting with that touchscreen demo experience I mentioned that was created by Seros. So let's take a little look-see here. All right. Now for this one, are there any preferences on where I start in this? Does anyone want me to start with the overview, use cases? in the middle. I like your style. So this one, Saros in your org. Again, this was on a massive touchscreen at this trade show conference, and they just had a queue of folks lined up to play with it, and we'll see why. So for this one, we're going to start a project. And right off the bat, it's getting us started with what it's like to work in Saros with all of our products. So we start creating, and we have these really cool animations coming in with these characters, Bree and Steven, creating the content. And then we can click on the button to go collaborate, see what that collaboration looks like with markup. We brought another character in, Tom, dropped in some new numbers for us. And then we can continue clicking through to see what this creation process would be like with our team, from creation, collaboration, and editing all the way to publishing. And at any point, we're able to kind of skip through this experience. And I think this is a great example of that linear flow that doesn't have to be just stuck in its own. You can always jump ahead, jump back if you want. Very interactive in that way, and puts the user in the driver's seat. Now back to our homepage here. We've got our Saros platform overview. This one is also very fun, just going into what Saros is for those who wanted to get to know it a little more. And right off the bat, we are started with a little choose your own adventure. That is, if you want to start designing on a blank canvas, importing a design, or using a template. And what they've done, they've just embedded videos for each of these three. And rather than having to, show all three of these in a long scrolling experience or have a lot of text explaining all the different methods, they just kind of let the product speak for itself. They had three options that you can choose, whichever one spoke to you the most. And I heard somewhere, I do not remember where, but for product demos, you can think of some of them like a sandbox and not a slideshow. And that just meaning instead of going through slide by slide, it's kind of a sandbox where you can poke around, play around with what you want, select what you want, and choose your own adventure. And I really like that analogy. And then our next section here, I believe there's 12 pop-ups that they included for this kind of product tour. And again, instead of having to display every bit of content, each person can just click through and see what speaks to them the most. Is it that real-time collaboration? Is it working with custom color palettes? Or wanting to learn more about the interactive and animation settings? So lots of different pop-ups here. And the great thing is that for each person that was going through this experience, it was a little bit different because there is quite a bit of content in here, and the way that they interact with it is going to vary person to person. So even though this isn't customized by the individual, the self-exploration of it just makes the demo feel very tailored to the individual. And here they've included just a couple more videos and then ended with publishing and what that looks like. Standalone, embedded, and published as a template. So really cool. I love the kind of tab module to show and hide the different content here. So really a demo that can give users control, let them skip whatever isn't relevant to them. Lots of power with that one, because then can keep that retention a little bit longer. And then finally, we do have use case examples. I do think people might have gotten a little lost in the sauce with this in a good way, in that I think there's 3 examples per use case here. So folks can really dive in, see what suits them the most. Are they more interested in editorial? Are they interested in more product demos? It is easy to get lost in it in a good way and keep the interactions going and engagement. And let's just take a little look-see at some of the fave product demo experiences. Yes, this MX Technologies one is a really cool one. It's super concise in that all the information is here on the left. And it just kind of goes through these videos with some animations of the product. So it's really simulating the product UI, how it works. And I think this one is just so sick. It's just like scanning through the product, we get these pop-ups every now and then. And you can see kind of how it's working in real time. So they really replicated this UI really well. And it's fun to go through. Keeps it engaging, and you can always cycle through. It's very short and sweet, only 5, so you can always go back. But great animations, great use of videos bringing these in. I love that example. See, we can just get lost going through examples within examples. It's kind of like inception of product demos here. All right. So that was one from this year. I did find one of the demos that we did the year before as well. I think this is one of my personal favorites. Again, they had this on a very large touchscreen, and I think you can kind of see why folks were queuing up to see this one as well at the conference they did this at, because this one was basically, they had a lot of room for creativity and having fun with it. And they really, I love this experience. We can start exploring, learn about what Saros is, get some like definitions, check out our messenger. Anyone else want to see anything on this experience? Or anywhere I should click? I know there's so many options. I think I love this wallpaper shuffle. And I think this is also a very cool way to add interactions in your product if it's like customizable at all or anything that they can change. Even just changing the color of it makes it very fun. Okay, let's check out the chicken suit theme. And they even added like little Easter eggs in here. Like, so cute. Okay, everyone wants to see the top secret. Let's check it out. I think I need to adjust my volume for this. Okay, our keynote speech. Okay, I'm gonna brace myself. I'm gonna try to see if I can control the volume. Never gonna give you up. There we go. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. So we got, whoa, we got full screen. So we got Rickrolled, incredible. And for those who don't know, one of our values is to wear our chicken suit, not to take ourselves too seriously. And so this is our little top secret Easter egg. It's so funny. I love the music they added. So ridiculous. And that's why we have this little chicken suit here too. Okay, someone wanted to click on Clippy. Does anything happen? Let's see. Gosh, my mouse is lost. Cute. Does like a little shake every now and then, little animation. Let's see. I personally thought the meow was a very fun one, just a little carousel of cats. Cute. It's so good. And in here, like layers on layers of content in here. I think, oh, where was it? Was it the dictionary? No. Really cool stuff. See, again, we can just get lost in the sauce. There we go. What is Saros? Really cool interactive content. Like, and then here we have more use case examples. So you can see how we just kind of like took the bones of this, brought it to the one for this year. But again, they have a lot more in this experience than meets the eye. We can look at other product demos, more case studies, everything. Yeah, this one is super fun and just very cheeky. So if you can have fun with it, you know, go wild. Like they added these random presentations. I also really love the spreadsheet of how they made this spreadsheet, just like every other one, into content worth marketing and made it into this little infographic. So cute. So I actually just found that today. So I'm really glad I was able to take us through it. Okay, cool. So that was kind of, I guess we technically saw 4 examples. We saw 2 use cases within the 2 demo experiences. But we do have just a couple more examples for us here. Oh yeah, and a fun little bonus. And that was to use the Saros Analytics to go behind the scenes of your product demos and track things like your time spent on page, how many outbound clicks there were, especially if you're linking to like downloading more information from a PDF or booking those calls or trying to get emails. whatever that outbound click may be, or even to view videos of that content. You can even track your interaction clicks by object or just by total interactions. So you can really get a feel for what people are interested in, what they're exploring more of. And you can check out your video engagements. Did they make it to, I don't know, the 5th video down there? Did they make it through the cycle of videos? And there's a whole lot more analytics that you can track and content that you can add, like embedding your content to. But definitely use your Saros analytics to see what folks are interested in and what they're engaging with, so that you can, tailor your product demos for that in the future too. Now, I believe we have maybe 2 more examples. And these were also built in Saros by some amazing clients. Let's see. Pull this one up. All right. So this one was a cybersecurity tech example. Let's go full screen. Perfect. And this one was a product exploration. They did a product walkthrough, taking you through and the software and just getting a feel for it. And what I really love about this one off the bat is just how stylized they made it, because it's not just like the product walkthrough I showed earlier on our Educate site where it's just going through the steps. This one, we can click into the steps and we've got these super stylized pop-ups. We've got these amazing kind of light box almost, or overlays in the background to highlight the content that they want to show, taking us on this whole tour. They maintain their fonts, their branding, their colors, and even throughout they add little animations too. They can create their own buttons, their own navigation. Like this little X here. I love that little animation. Let's replay it. Boom. So smooth. And those subtle little transitions or fades just kind of make the experience a bit more polished and that cool polished feel. And then they kept these little hovers where we could click and interact with it, some different navigation options. Perfect. And then they kind of kept the copy pretty concise, showing just the information they need and then the benefits of that specific feature. Then they go on to show outside of the dashboard, the protection, zones, devices, and we can continue browsing through those. But I think this one is really clean, really polished, and a great example of how you can make it very stylized in the experience. All right. Oh my gosh, time is flying. We've got like 1 more left. Okay. Our last one here. Let's see. This was from Ping Identity, and this was featuring this new Ping ID SDK. And so this was a B2B. They're trying to show the value of what this Ping ID SDK is and why it's beneficial for your customers, let's say. And right off of the bat, we've got some choices we can make. I love that it's not just, that one linear experience. You kind of have that self-exploration, but I do want to see what all of this is about. So we can go ahead and get started with the first one. And it takes us through what this process is like for your customer. I think this is so cool how they mimic the how you'd interact with the product with the little approved animation. I love this. How they kind of fill in the username, the password, little things that they could have just included a screenshot of, but the interaction of getting to this, adding the animation just kind of keeps that engagement a bit more. And here too, like having the verification sent and constantly loading, having the little dot to show that you're doing your Touch ID to verify it. Like very cool little touches. And they even included other navigation. So you're not just stuck hitting next if you don't want. You can jump between the timeline, go to see what's relevant for you. So you do have that element of self-exploration as well. You can jump to whatever is most important to you. Let's say password reset is a passion of mine, and I need to learn how she can reset this password. We've got our animations. our product UI. Amazing. And then Sarah's able to reset her password. Love. Anything else that y'all notice that you really like? Oh yeah, I saw Alyssa raise her hand. Or have a question. Let's see. What is... Ooh, okay. I just saw this question in the Q&A too. I'll come back to this one since it was from the other example. Great question. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll keep going through this one. More animations, super clean and super stylized. And a really great way, like this was a lot of content that they could have included in a typical slide deck or PDF fashion where there's like a million screenshots of your client is going to authorize the device, enter their password. And these are some other things they can do, like reset the password, trust the device. Like the timeline of going through all 7 of these steps would definitely be a lot, but the way that they broke it up into these individual sections, I think is super clean. Yeah, exactly like Alyssa said. It's a clean design and it does flow really well. Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, those are all the examples that I have for today. And with those tips in mind, I hope that helps brainstorm and get some ideas for some future product demos. And now I'm going to pass it to y'all for any questions. I know I saw 1 or 2 in our chat, so I'll dive into those, but feel free to throw more in the Q&A in the chat and we'll get to those. Okay, let's see. I believe our first one, let's see, for products that are not tangible, products that customers can test or follow a process through, would the product demo mainly be making an interactive piece that is informative but fun to view then? Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, if they don't have that tangible product, yeah, you can create these interactive pieces that are informative and fun to view, and kind of like the last 2 we saw, where it is kind of creating that environment where it does feel like they are interacting with the product, especially with those SaaS products where you're never going to be able to physically, tangibly touch it. But even without creating an account, you'll be able to mimic and feel what it's like to have it. Like with the cybersecurity. Let me go back to that one. Yeah, like with this one, I know that whenever I get into this software, I can look at these threat events over the past 30 days, and that can track pinpoint attack hotspots. So great little benefits there that you can sneak in. Let's see. And I think there was another question about, yes, this example. Perfect. So what is the simplest way to create that light box effect in this example? Really good question. So I think the best way that I would approach it, going away from full screen, that I would create these kind of light box effects would be to create the pop-up. So in this case, they brought, I believe, a screenshot or an image of this part of the dashboard, included a pop-up with their background, text, the navigation button. And then what I would do is add an overlay behind the pop-up content. So behind this image and behind this. And I believe you can just add a shape and lower the opacity a little bit, maybe 70 to 85%, depending on your preference. And that can create this light box style effect by just creating a shape overlay background. Really good question. All right. I think, did we get all of our questions here? Am I missing any? Let's see. All right. Awesome. Well, I think there are no more questions here. So with that, I hope y'all enjoyed today's webinar and that these tips are helpful when you're building out your next product demos. And if y'all do have any other questions, please feel free to reach out on our site, educate.saros.com. We also have lots of guides, videos, upcoming webinars, and happenings that we would love to see you at. And yes, I will absolutely include the link to the deck on the webinar page that Liana just sent. So stay tuned for the recording and for the deck. And thanks so much for coming out, and hope to see y'all again soon. Bye, everybody.